Since one of our panelists wanted some coercive and compelling reasons for the formation of the state, now let's look at the different oppositions that was given to the formation of Gorkhaland and whether or not they are justified. The first reason that was given was that geographically the area of Darjeeling is too small. If you look at the states of Sikkim and Goa, and if you compare the numbers that I have given on these slides, you will clearly understand that Sikkim and Goa is much smaller states than in comparison to the proposed state of Gorkhaland. So it is nonsense to say that Darjeeling is too small to be created a state, because there already exist states like Sikkim and Goa which is smaller than the proposed area of Gorkhaland, and moreover these two states are doing tremendously well. So if smaller states are going to be this successful, I would say go ahead with all small states. Second point that was brought in front of us was that we cannot go ahead and separate Darjeeling, because Darjeeling not being a part of West Bengal was ancient history. But as I pointed out, Darjeeling not being a part of West Bengal is not an ancient history, mind you, sir. It is current affairs, because we are still not considered to be a part of West Bengal, and something that is not a part cannot be broken down. So this is not a movement of separatism. This is not a separatist movement. This is a movement of inclusion. Our inclusion finally into the Indian nation as a separate state, because within West Bengal we were never a part of West Bengal. Now the next thing that we have in place here is that autonomy has been granted to us, and we should give autonomy a chance. Okay, let's look at it. Somebody told us that we should give autonomy a chance. Let me remind you, the learned panelists, that we have given autonomy a chance, not once, but twice. This is the second time an autonomy has been created in Darjeeling. And creation of autonomy clearly states that Kolkata or West Bengal is not capable enough to govern over Darjeeling. It never has been. That is the reason an autonomy was created. As long as there is going to be autonomy system created in Darjeeling, there is always going to be ambiguity. There is always going to be confusion regarding responsibility and dissemination of power. And there is always going to be these kind of questions like, where did the 15 crore go? And clarification is required for it. Yes, clarification is required for it. But who does the Darjeeling people, who does the normal people in Darjeeling ask? Because we don't have any clarity. There is non-transference of power and ambiguity in governance because of the autonomy that is created. We do not know who needs to be held responsible for what. If you are giving us a government that is not responsible to the people, how will that government be successful? Only governance that is going to be successful is a governance that is accountable to its people, because government is by the people, for the people, and of the people. So autonomy is not going to be the solution this time around, because giving an autonomy again means that you are going to take 4 to 5 years again to discuss the transference, non-transference of all the power that happens, does not happen, all the funds that is lost or been allocated correctly. And as a result, like my generation has lost 10 years of their life, my son's generation is going to lose another 5 to 10 years of his life, which, believe me sir, I know to you is nothing important, but to a Gorkha it is very, very important, because our next generation is our future, and we need to go ahead and secure their future in order to secure the future of our Indian nation. That's why I reject your argument that it is ancient history, that Darjeeling was not a part of West Bengal, and that autonomy granted will be the solution to the problem that is there in West Bengal, or rather the problem that is there in Gorkhaland. Now, let's go back to the third reason that was given. That linguistic base of state creation is a nonsense. That's what it was pointed out. So I was making arguments on this line. However, there is this beautiful article that has been there in Times of India today, page number 11. So I implore my learned panelists to please go through this newspaper article which tells you why and how linguistic lines has been basis of state division so far. So why is it that ultimately when the decision comes to the rights of the Gorkha, that you are suddenly realizing that linguistic patterns were not correct? However, so far in all these years of independence, it was considered to be a strong basis. Is it because all the panelists are biased? Or is it because all the panelists who were there were not informed? Or is it because that is the way you want to portray it to the people of this nation, that Gorkhaland is not a viable option? However, sir, there is nothing more viable and right than Gorkhaland right now. I'll tell you why. Let's get into some more coercive reasons for it. Let's look at economic development next. Okay, we had Maua come on stage and say that there has been a lot of economic development that has happened in West Bengal, or rather in Gorkhaland, post the inclusion of the Gorkhaland area in West Bengal. Let's look at the pre and post analysis of what has happened pre-unification and post-unification of the Darjeeling Gorkhaland area into West Bengal. Pre-unification, there were 180 tea gardens which were successfully running in very, very profitable conditions. Post-unification, there are 82 already closed or dying industries in tea. And tea is the major industry in Darjeeling, and it is not just about Darjeeling that I am talking about. Darjeeling tea is pride of India. Darjeeling tea is a world brand that India can boast about. And the unification of Darjeeling into West Bengal is killing that brand, which we as Indians cannot afford to lose in this day and age. Minimum wages before the pre-unification was at par with all the other states in India. Post-unification, minimum wages in the country, the lowest minimum wages is found in West Bengal, especially the workers in the tea industry. Third point, cinchona plantation, it flourished before the pre-unifications. You can go online and check all the numbers. Cinchona plantation right now is on the verge of shutdown. That is a loss and not an economic development. Now let's look at another heritage, rather world heritage, our toy trade. Pre-unification, there were 5 to 6 mail and passenger trains that used to run from Darjeeling to Siliguri. Right now, the conditions are such that the toy train only runs for entertainment purposes. There is only one train that runs from Darjeeling to Siliguri. That too, it does not run the full span because there are places where it is damaged. Mind you, I am not talking about just any ordinary train. This is the toy train of Darjeeling, another world heritage of India. And if Darjeeling continues to be a part of West Bengal, this is another world heritage that is going to be lost. And that is going to be a huge loss to the Indian nation. Thirdly, we had excellent ropeways connecting that was constructed during pre-unification. Right now, the only signs of the ropeways that you see are the wires and the rods that are hanging there. Because West Bengal government never invested in maintenance of those ropeways. And I'm not talking about the ropeway for the tourism that is there. And mind you, even that ropeway, if you will see, has not been used to the full potential or exploited to the full potential to attract the amount of tourism that it actually can. Now, let me tell you a story. I love stories. When I was a kid, my father, late Mr. Sudarshan Sharma, who actually died for the cause of Gorkha identity, used to sing this particular rhyme to me. At that point of time, it was just a beautiful rhyme which a child liked. But now when I think of it, it had a lot of significance. The rhyme that he used to sing was, Nepti chepti Darjeeling kosto cha, Darjeeling sahar batti ko lahar, Vaikuntha jasto cha, which basically means Nepti chepti, referring to our, features, not too sharp. How is Darjeeling? And the answer goes, Darjeeling Sahar Batti Ko Lahar Vaikunta Jasto Cha, which basically means Darjeeling city with all that lights that is there is like a heaven. This is actually a reference to Darjeeling town being the first place in India where hydroelectricity plant was set up, not post the unification. Let me remind you, in 1897 at Sidrabu, which is now an heritage power station of India. Later on, post unification, it has been taken over by West Bengal government, and right now this is the picture, which is in a very, very dilapidated condition. And again, it is an heritage power station. So this is another heritage we are on the verge of losing if we do not separate from West Bengal. Darjeeling was the first town in India to get electricity light and hydroelectricity plant to be set up. But unfortunately, Darjeeling in current day and age, if you have ever visited, is the place which has so much of power cuts that it is virtually impossible to live without a power supply backup. Water problem in Darjeeling is world famous. That is the reason we need to have a separate state of Gorkhaland, because it is not just in the benefit of the Gorkha people there, it is in the benefit of entire India. It is in the benefit of the nation. Otherwise, there is so much heritage and so much economical potential that is there in Darjeeling, which is going to be killed, destroyed and damaged. Therefore, I reject the argument that there has been economic development in India, or rather in Darjeeling.